My brothers and sisters in Christ, in my reflection a couple of days ago, I talked about making the leap from an empty Lenten observance to a truly meaningful, enriching one. The difference between just, for example, giving up chocolate for Lent versus giving up, or doing something as a Lenten action or intention that opens up space to grow in love, to grow in charity to our neighbor, in devotion to God, something like this. And today's readings give us a wonderful illustration between kind of these two steps. So as I said in that previous reflection, first of all, we're not called to give up sinning for Lent. We're already called to do that. That's not a Lenten penance. That's not a penance at all. That's what's called stop sinning. We're all challenged that we need to turn away from our patterns of sin. So of course, yes, if you've identified a sin to give up, that's important, but that's not a Lenten penance. And so what we do is to avoid evil. And these are, if you will, what we call the negative precepts, things to avoid doing. And so in the first reading from Leviticus, we hear these. They sound awfully familiar to the Ten Commandments. They're rooted in this. And so we hear a list of things that we are not to do. And that's important. I'm not making light of those. Those are at the very foundation that we must avoid doing evil. But just avoiding doing evil things does not make us good. And that's the kicker. And so it's not just about giving things up, but what fills the space. And that is, do I depend more on God, and in turn, do I grow in love of God and neighbor? These are the positive precepts. And nothing in the scriptures embodies this more than today's gospel. The passage of the Last Judgment that we hear in Matthew 25. Because in here, the judgment isn't based on, did you do these bad things? That's not the question that's answered. But instead, he says to those whom he favors, he says, you fed me. When I was hungry, you fed me, you clothed me, you did all these things. Lord, when did we see you hungry, thirsty, sick, in prison? What you did for the least of these, you did for me. And on the other side, those who go to condemnation, you did not feed me. Lord, when did we see you hungry? What you did not do for the least of these, you did not do for me. This speaks to a positive precept, that something good is expected of us, not just to stop doing bad things, but in fact, to turn our hearts to the Lord in such a way that we grow in love. We who are so loved, and we must first recognize this, must now turn and seek to do more and more for our neighbor. Because if we love God, then we see Him, we see Jesus in the distressing disguise, as it said, in our neighbor. The stranger we encounter, we see Jesus in a disguise. And so, our heart, if we truly love the Lord, and not just we seek to not make Him angry by not sinning, but if we truly love the Lord, then we want to do good for the Lord. And so we will seek to feed the hungry, to clothe those in need. When we see a need, when we see a person in distress, our heart will want to care for this person, not to see them come to ill. And so, my brothers and sisters in Christ, may we live well during this Lenten season. Turn away from evil, yes. Avail ourselves of the sacrament of penance, yes. But most of all, may we grow in love and find the opportunity to think less of self and more of the other, especially more of God and His most distressing of disguises. May God bless you.